All right, I think we are recording. So welcome everybody. It's good to see all these faces. Haven't seen a lot of these faces in a while, so it's great to see everybody and have so many people here for this, which is the first ever Dona County Historical Society virtual awards program. We're excited to be doing it. You know, when we were talking in the fall, the board, about whether we would have some sort of awards program, because generally we have an awards banquet every year. It's an in-person event, and there's a big lunch, and it's great. And we're certainly going to miss having the food over at the Double Eagle. But our options were to either skip it this year or to do it virtually, and we decided to do it virtually. The awards are such an important part of what the Dona County Historical Society does. It's a really integral part of the mission of the society. So we decided we would take a stab at it and see if we could do something virtually. So we're going to try. If we have some technical glitches, you can put that all on me. I'm kind of running the technical stuff. So if anything malfunctions there, I'm the one to blame. The awards for the Dona County Historical Society have a long history. They started in 1967, was the first awards banquet. And since that time, there has only been 1 year that there was not an awards banquet held. So we really felt like we needed to do this. So we're in a new era, and so we will do it virtually here. I am actually in my son's bedroom. You can see all of his Star Wars Lego back in the back there. Our computer is in his room because he has to do Zoom meetings all day for school, and so he needs the computer in his room. So rather than moving it, I thought I would just stay here. You might be able to hear from time to time my daughter is practicing her violin in the next room, but she's pretty good, so you might enjoy it. Let's see. Before we get started with the awards, one thing that we need to do is install the new board members, officers and board members, in November at the November meeting, which was a virtual meeting as well, as all of our meetings have been since the pandemic. We voted for some board member positions, and hopefully some of those people, hopefully all of those people are here now. Whether they are or not, they're about to be installed as board members. And so I will just announce them. They are Garland Courts, and I haven't seen Garland yet, but Garland Courts is being installed as vice president. Dennis Fuller, who I do see here somewhere. It's so hard to keep track. There he is. Yeah, if you wave your hand, it makes it easier. Who has stood up for another term as treasurer. Jim Eccles, who is here, but he's in his pajamas, so he has his camera off. Has taken on another term as secretary. And Buddy Ritter, who I don't think is here, is taken on another term as member at large. And so by these words, all of these people are all now installed for new terms as board members and officers. So thank you guys. I want to introduce the other board members as well. Some are here, some are not. Sally Kading, and you'll be hearing from Sally a little bit later. I can see Sally there. It looks like she's in an Italian villa somewhere. Is our historian. Susan Krueger is past president of the society. And then at-large board members are Luis Rios, who is here. Sim Middleton, who I don't know if he's here yet. Daniel Aguilera, Bob Gamboa, and our newest at-large board member, who I do see here, is Jose Aranda. And so welcome to all of you. And these are the people that keep this organization going. And so we're really grateful to all of them. And I'm Dennis Daly, by the way, if I hadn't said so previously. And I'm currently the president of the society. Let's see, if I know a lot of you are members. Not everyone is a member here, probably. I know we have a lot of Drexler family members who probably are not members. You're here as guests of their dad, Pete Drexler. But if you are a member and you haven't renewed, it's a good time to renew your membership. If you're not a member, even if you don't live here and your last name happens to be Drexler, you can still join. We'd love to have you join. It's very modest to join the Historical Society, and it's a great group of people. One of the benefits of being in the society, aside from the meetings that we have and the awards that we give out, is the Southern New Mexico Historical Review, which is hot off the presses. Here's my copy. And if you are a member, you will be receiving one of those in the mail, and those are being mailed out right now. So some of them I know have gone out. Jim has mailed some of them out. So you should be getting those within the next week. But it's a great publication, and one of the benefits of being a member, we're always looking for people to write articles for the Southern New Mexico Historical Review. So if you are interested in history, you like to write about history, please think about writing something for the Historical Review. Also, you can, if you do want to become a member or renew your membership, you can do that online now on our website. So you don't have to print a form and mail a check and all of that. You can just click a button and pay online through PayPal. You can also make donations. Since we are mailing out the Historical Review this year, we're incurring some extra expenses. It's not cheap to mail a hefty publication like this. You can see it's pretty big. It's costing us a couple bucks each to mail all those out to all the members. So if you feel like making a little contribution just to help defray some of those costs, you can do that on the website as well. All right, enough of all of that. I think it's time that we move on and get started with the awards program. And we have an awards committee, which is made up of 3 of our board members. That's Susan Krueger and Luis Rios and Sim Middleton. And I'm going to turn this over to Susan, who's going to take it from here, and she's going to introduce the awards. And yeah, here we go. All right,
Thank
Susan,
you.
take over.
Yeah. Thank you, Dennis. I would like to tell you that all the information about the Dona County Historical Site Awards and the past recipients is on our website at donanacountyhistsoc.org. So that's Dona County, HISTSOC.org. And if you're interested in being a part of the awards committee, please let me know and take a look at the website. Our first award is the Pasajero del Camino Real Award. This year we
Susan,
have.
Hold on,
yes.
Susan. Okay, here's where the technical part starts to happen. So I'm gonna share my screen here, Susan, while you are talking.
Okay.
Give me a quick second. All right. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Should be a slide that says DACHS 2021 awards. All right, very good. And let's see, hold on, I'm trying to, there we go. All right, Susan, good to go.
Okay, so our first award is the Pasajero del Camino Real Award. And this year we have 2 recipients, James Pete Drexler and David Thomas. The award is given to authors of significant historical publications about events, persons, places, or issues in Dona County and the nearby area. The first award to David G. Thomas is as editor of the.
Go ahead.
Okay. The first award is to David G. Thomas, editor of the stolen Pinkerton reports of the Colonel Albert J. Fountain murder investigation. It is volume 6 in David's Mesilla Valley History series. David is a familiar face to those interested in the history of the Mesilla Valley. In the past few years, the Dona County Historical Society has honored him with this award for his continuing series on local history. David has to say this about his current book. The public in the 1890s was left without answers to the questions: who ambushed and killed Colonel Fountain? Who was willing to kill his young son in cold blood after holding him captive for 24 hours? David goes on to say the case was never solved. 2 men were eventually tried for and acquitted of the crime. The case file for the crime contains no information. There are no trial transcripts or witness testimonies. The only reports that exist today of the investigation of the case are these Pinkerton reports, which were commissioned by the territorial governor and then stolen from his office 4 months after the murders. These reports, now recovered, are published here. These reports are important historical documents, not only for what they reveal about the Fountain murders, but also as a fascinating window into how the most famous professional detective agency in the United States in the 1890s, the Pinkerton Detective Agency, went about investigating a murder at a time when scientific forensic evidence was virtually non-existent. This is a murder mystery of sorts, so give yourself plenty of reading time, because once you begin, you will want to finish. And David has 2 announcements to make about the book. David?
Thank you very, very much for the award. It is such a pleasure to see the people that I know out there who I haven't seen in person for basically a year. I'm very pleased with this book because besides revealing for the first time that the reports had been stolen and who recovered them, which was Kathleen Stowe's, and if you know much about Mesilla history, you know she's a very important person, wrote quite a few articles herself on Mesilla history. She was in the courthouse when Billy the Kid was tried, for example. She was just a young girl at the time. The reports were stolen from the governor's office, and there were hints in the paper that they knew who had done it, but the name was not given. So then about 40 years later, Sorensen in El Paso learns that Kathleen Stowe's has the reports. And they do a dance where he eventually is able to get the reports from her. And then he does a dance with Gibson, who writes the biography of Fountain. And eventually he gets them from Sorensen. I believe, and there's very strong evidence, that the reports were stolen either by Albert Fall or someone for Albert Fall, and that's where Kathleen got the reports. The Pinkerton operatives that were filing the reports made 2 copies. They sent one to the Denver office, and a second one, which was marked duplicate, was sent to the governor. Now, in Kathleen Stowe's collection are those duplicates, the ones marked duplicate. So we know that that's the second copy. It's not Xerox or anything like that. Those are the original second copies. One other thing about the book I'd like to mention, the Coffin Note. When Colonel Fountain stepped out of the courthouse in Lincoln after helping to get 21 men indicted for cattle rustling and brand defacing, which included Oliver Lee and McNew and Jim Gillian, a stranger walked up to him and gave him a folded sheet of paper. And when he read it, it said, to paraphrase it, "If you agree to drop these charges, throw this paper down. If not, you will not reach home alive." Now, this was known as a coffin note, and it began in the coal mining strikes in Ohio about the time of the Civil War. And miners, if they got upset at the management of the owners, would deliver a note like this, and they basically warned them, stop doing this or you're going to be killed. Now, other historians have known that the coffin note existed, but nobody knew why wasn't it introduced in the trial? Because it proves a conspiracy, and that was one of the issues in the trial. Well, it turns out that Colonel Fountain, aware of the great risk that he was running driving back to Las Cruces, hid it in the buggy. And he hid it in the buggy so securely that it was only discovered by the Fountain family after the trial had started to try to convict Oliver Lee of killing Fountain. And it was too late to introduce it in the trial. So that fact, which has previously not been known before, is very, very interesting. I'd like to mention one other thing. I've just finished another book. It comes out March 1st. It's called The Trial of Billy the Kid. It's about 300 pages. Everybody who's written about Billy the Kid, and there's been so many books, hundreds of books, the most that they have spent on the trial is maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs. Basically, no one knows almost nothing about the trial, other than the fact that it was held in Mesilla, the people that participated, who Billy the Kid's lawyer was, and what the result was, which of course he was convicted of one of the murders that he was charged with. There is an immense amount of new information in here on the trial and so on. This is a result of 12 years of research. This is actually the first book I started researching, and I'm very, very pleased with it. This book will be out March 1st. All my books are available on Amazon or the local bookstores. So again, I want to thank you very much for this award. I want to congratulate Pete also for getting it. His book is a remarkable book, and I really enjoyed reading it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. So our second award, our second Pasajero del Camino Real Award, is to James J. Pete Drexler for his book, A Place Called Dona Ana, and it is available on Amazon. Pete is also a prior recipient of this award for his 3 books on Southwestern history. Pete Drexler has lived on the Dona Ana Bend Colony Grant for the better part of his adult life and has long been interested in the history of the area. He has this to say about his book. The village of Dona Ana was the first permanent European settlement in the southern half of the territory of New Mexico. It was founded in 1842 while the region was still part of the state of Chihuahua, Mexico. Dona Ana experienced strong influences of Spanish culture and was later claimed by the Republic of Texas after Texas won its independence from Mexico in 1836. The United States gained control of the region in 1848 as a result of the war between Mexico and the United States. Dona Ana lies along the El Camino Real de Tierra Adentro and was an important stopping place, a paraje, on the way to Santa Fe. This book traces the roots of this village situated in one of the most fertile areas in present-day New Mexico. One noteworthy discovery made while researching the book concerns the sketch used for the front cover. The sketch, titled Town and Valley of Mesilla, was produced in 1854. It has appeared in many publications, and the village depicted is invariably identified as Mesilla. However, my analysis of the village and the mountains in the background leave no doubt that the village is Dona Ana and the mountains are the Dona Ana Mountains. Also, interestingly, the original site of the village of Dona Ana was approximately 2 miles north of its present site. So again, the book is titled A Place Called Dona Ana, and it is available through Amazon. Are we ready to move on to Sally's award?
Okay.
Or did Pete, did you have any thoughts to add?
No, I think not, Susan.
Okay, good. All right. So, Sally, you're with us?
Yes.
Okay. And Dennis, are you ready?
Give me a second and I will be ready.
So,
Most know,
All
2
right.
years ago, the Historical Society took on the task of clearing, mapping, and documenting an old cemetery in the village
Sally?
of Picacho.
Sally?
Yes,
Sally?
yes,
Hang on. So, Dennis, are you ready?
I think we're ready to go. Yep.
Okay. So the
Dennis?
second award is the Heritage Award, and it's given this year as a group award to people whose actions and deeds have contributed to the historical and cultural heritage of Dona Ana County. It is a group award to honor those who worked to document, preserve, and restore the old Picacho Cemetery. And Sally Kading will present the award. Sally is the Dona Ana County Historical Society historian and the recent recipient of the Historic Preservation Medal from the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution. Sally, it's all yours.
thank you. Dennis, don't start the slide presentation yet. I want to explain first what we're doing or have done. Most of you know that the Historical Society took on the task of clearing, mapping, and documenting the cemetery in the village of Picacho off of Shalem Colony Road 2 years ago. The cemetery was established in the early 1860s when the Chavez family set this piece of property aside to be used as a community cemetery. The following presentation will show what we started with and where we are today. We could not have done it without the help of many volunteers who either worked physically in the cemetery, researched newspapers and genealogical records, or donated money so we could hire professionals they were needed. I want to thank you all. Okay. Dennis?
Are you ready to start, Sally?
Yes,
You have a narrator?
I do. Can you
Okay,
not hear it?
I cannot hear him.
Can anyone else hear him?
No. No.
Nope.
No? Can you hear, you heard me a moment ago, yes?
We can hear you fine.
Okay. Okay.
In 2017, Josie DiMatteo contacted the Dona County Historical Society looking for help with the
It's cutting out.
Yeah, we can't hear.
How strange. He's standing right here beside me.
Have Bruce sit down in the chair and let him read it.
You know, okay, try and sit here.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me now?
There you go. Sounds good.
Okay, microphone must be very directional.
I guess so.
Here we go. In 2017, Josie DiMatteo contacted the Dona County Historical Society looking for help with the old abandoned cemetery in Bacacho Village. The 1/2 acre lot had become so overgrown it was not recognizable as a cemetery. This is Josie bending over one of her family's headstones. The Historical Society contacted the owner of the cemetery, who no longer lives in New Mexico. He had no interest in the cemetery and said he would be happy to let it go. We contacted the county courthouse and found the property had back taxes that were due. Our interest in the cemetery included mapping and documenting it, and ownership would allow us a free hand. So in January 2018, we purchased the cemetery. Our first task was to clear the property of the mesquite, wild grass, and prickly pear cactus that had taken over. Being careful not to disturb the graves, 2 Knights of Columbus consuls took on the initial task. A neighbor, Victor Rivera, provided a front end loader to help pick up the chopped brush. Subsequently, marking graves with flags and assigning each a number based on its location in the cemetery. Only the 2 remaining headstones bear names. The rock mound burials have no information. This necessitated a search of the old church records for the period before death certificates were required. Then existing death certificates were searched. According to these records, burials began in the 1860s and continued into the early 1950s. The names of 34 individuals were found to be buried in the Bacacho Cemetery. 15 other possible individuals were identified as having lived and died in the Bacacho area, but no burial locations were recorded on their death certificates. So we concentrated on the 34 confirmed names. The Dona County Genealogical Society was contacted, and they enthusiastically helped produce biographies for the 34 individuals we had. Meanwhile, Consulting, Surveying, and Technology LLC, an engineering company with ground penetrating radar, came to the cemetery to see if they could locate more graves. We wanted to be able to fence the open sides of the cemetery to protect it from future illegal dumping. So we created a GoFundMe account. Other people donated directly. Because of the fundraising, we were able to build rock pillars with chain between them along the road at the entrance of the property. Then we used rocks that belonged to Josie DiMatteo to complete the rock wall along the southern border. Lonnie Sanchez used his heavy equipment to move the rocks into position inside the cemetery, and then he donated sand and mortar for the construction of the wall. But we were not quite finished. We wanted a plaque that gave a short history of the cemetery and a list of the 34 names with birth and death dates. A rock base matching the pillars and wall was built and the plaque placed near the entrance of the cemetery. Today, the cemetery looks like this. All the information, maps, biographies, and grave pictures which we created will be given to NMSU's archives and special collections, where anyone who wishes to see the details or pursue future research can access them.
I did not do this alone. Just want to say thank you to all the people that did help in every facet of this, all the way along the last 2 years. We've met lots of new people and dealt with a lot of problems and solved them all. I do thank you for the reward, and I thank everyone that helped this accomplishment. It is not just, thank you.
You're welcome, Sally, and thank you. Dennis, are you ready for the next award, which is the Fort Fillmore Award? Dennis?
I'm here. Sorry, getting it up and running here.
Okay.
All right.
Fort, ready?
Think so.
Wait a second.
Good to go.
Okay, Fort Fillmore receives the Society's Old Timers Award, which identifies a cherished object, a natural phenomena, or cultural tradition prominent in Mesilla Valley heritage. We would like to dedicate this award to Salopek Farms and particularly to Ben Salopek, our Fort Fillmore tour guide on a sunny day in October of 2020. Fort Fillmore was built in 1851 as a major Southwestern Army post to serve as a base for the Indian campaigns. It was officially abandoned as a military post in 1862. The remnants of the fort are located on Salopek Farm, south of Mesilla Park, New Mexico. There are several collections about Fort Fillmore available through the archives and special collections at the NMSU library. Two of the most remarkable collections shared with me by Dennis Staley, head of the NMSU Library Department and president of the Dona County Historical Society, are mentioned in what follows. The first is the Lee Myers papers, a large collection which includes a history of the fort and 6 Fort Fillmore newsletters written by Dr. John P. Wilson, then curator of historical archaeology at the Museum of New Mexico. The newsletters detail the excavation he directed at Fort Fillmore from May to June 1966. The papers also include a copy of the application submitted on September 7th, 1973 to the U.S. Department of Interior National Park Service for the nomination of the Fort Fillmore ruins to the National Register of Historic Places. The application was successful, and on July 30th, 1974, Fort Fillmore was entered into the National Register. Among the newspaper articles in the Lee Myers papers that tie activity involving the fort to the Dona County Historical Society is one from the Las Cruces Sun News dated April 17th, 1985, with a picture of Pat Beckett and Dr. Wilson examining what was thought to be a section of barracks floor. Another from the El Paso Times, June 6, 1966, titled Excavation of Building Completed, tells of Dr. Wilson's work and mentions that he was a recent speaker at the Dona County Historical Society. The second resource from the Archives and Special Collections is titled the Dona County Historical Society Records Collection. It is a series of letters regarding deeding the Fort Fillmore site to the state of New Mexico. The letters begin in June 1972 with correspondence between Miss Louise Garrett, president of the Historical Society, and Ronald H. Weiss, a surveyor. They continue between the society and others, including John Solopek and the State of New Mexico Planning Office, and Harold Klein, New Mexico State American Revolution Bicentennial Commission, with copies to Hugh Milton, David King, and Thomas Merlin. To contact Dennis Daly regarding Fort Fillmore collections at the NMSU Library, email him at ddaly@nmsu.edu. From the letters in the Historical Society collection at NMSU, we know of the Dona County Historical Society's interest in Fort Fillmore. At this point, the work of the Society to transfer Fort Fillmore to the state of New Mexico and to secure funding for preservation and restoration moves out of the NMSU Archives and Special Collections and into Madeline Bessel's book titled Dona County Historical Society, 1963 to 1994. Chapter 2, titled Fort Fillmore, recounts the details of the work done by Mary D. Taylor, a distinguished historian, John Hawley, a geologist with the USDA Soil Conservation Service, and J. Paul Taylor, then president of the Dona County Historical Society. And although ultimately the efforts of the Society to save Fort Fillmore failed, you will thoroughly enjoy reading Ms. Vessel's account of how and why. Ms. Vessel is a member of the Dona County Historical Society, and her book is online at our website. To close, on October 19th, 2020, Buddy Ritter, a Historical Society board member at large, arranged a special private tour of the Fort Fillmore site on Salopek Farms for a group of Society members. The tour was led by Ben Salopek. The parade ground remains in place and open without pecan trees, as was the wish of John Salopek. While John originally owned the Fort Fillmore site, it is now owned and operated by the Salopek Farms Group, who continue to honor John's wish. While the fort itself is now a ruin, with only scattered pieces of adobe and brick remaining in the sand in a fenced-off area covered by a large shade, nothing has diminished its history. Thanks very much. And I turn the program back over now to Dennis Daly, who will announce the final award.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you very much. And it will become evident shortly why I am announcing this award. And the last award, let me get back to, I've got to do my technical hat here. Sorry, give me a second. Okay, wow, it worked. All right, so the final award that we're going to announce today is the DACHS Hall of Fame Award. And the Hall of Fame Award is to recognize an individual who is known for his or her exceptional contribution to preservation of the history and culture of the Mesilla Valley. The contribution should be substantial and be evidenced by enduring and observable worth to the Dona County Historical Society and to the wider community. And the recipient of this award happens to be our own Susan Krueger. Susan, congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell you a little bit about Susan and why she is deserving of this award. Susan grew up in Detroit and did her undergraduate work at the University of Michigan and received a PhD in English and American literature from Brandeis University. Susan has taught history, visited multiple historical sites in her travels, and when she moved to Mesilla, she became involved in repairing and preserving local historically significant buildings. Then one hot Saturday afternoon, while walking shelter dogs with Donna Eichstadt, she was introduced to the Dona County Historical Society. She joined. She met people, and she continues to meet all kinds of people with a similar interest in history as herself. So some thoughts on what Susan has done since becoming a DACHS member and what she has done in the community to deserve this award. We'll tell a little story about how she got involved with DACHS. Marcy Palmer, who some of you probably know, was a member of the board, and Susan was attending with her as a guest. They went to the November 2011 Board of Directors meeting. During the meeting, the then President George Hackler talked about what could possibly be the end of the society, as it had come to be known because of the difficulty of recruiting new members, something we always have. So it's good reason to join, become involved. And also filling board and officer vacancies. At the close of the meeting, Susan said to Marcy, "If you agree to be president, I will agree to be vice president." So the slate of officers and board members presented to the general membership for a vote on November 18th, 2011 included Marcy as president and Susan as vice president. Both were elected and sworn in January 2012. So would the Historical Society have changed course if Susan hadn't stepped forward? Well, we don't know, but it's likely. What we do know is that no one else stepped forward at that time. We also know that George Hackler, who retired from the board in January 2012, was most thankful for what Susan did. So following 2 years as vice president and 2 years as president, and fulfilling the extensive duties of those offices, Susan has continued to serve as a board member. Among other contributions, she has chaired the awards committee, and she is the current chair of that committee, providing a stream of architectural awards since 2012, following general meetings at the Good Sam Auditorium, which is where we hope to return to meet someday. She has stood at the membership table at almost every one of those meetings, answering questions, taking dues, selling books, just doing all kinds of stuff. She's helped to organize and run the annual awards banquet, as you can see from her great work here tonight. And she continues to revise and renew the membership list, which we hope we have some new members. Regarding Susan's contribution to the preservation of the history and culture of the Mesilla Valley, in March 2000, Susan, who worked at the town of Mesilla, was appointed to Messiah's Historical Appropriateness and Architectural Styles Committee. In July 2000, the committee issued a guide to building permits in the historic zones, for which Susan researched and wrote an introduction. Coinciding with her Historical Society interests, she focused on the preservation of individual structures listed in the state and national registers of cultural properties, working through the definitions of rehabilitation, restoration, and renovation. She participated in a series of lime plaster workshops given by Pat Taylor to learn the process of lime plastering, which allows adobe walls to breathe and dry out after each rain. Then she applied what she had learned to restoration projects. Further, she participated in the City of Las Cruces Historic Preservation Coalition, chaired by then Mayor Pro Tem Gregory Smith, which laid the groundwork for the city's current historic preservation ordinance. Also working with the State Historic Preservation Office, she became familiar with the process of applying for tax credits to repair and maintain historic buildings, and shared the information with others looking into tax credits. She has done this and so much more for the society. I am personally greatly indebted to her as when I took over as president, for helping me out and seeing me through all the ins and outs of being the president of this great society. So Susan, congratulations. Thank you for everything you've done for the society. Do you have any words you'd like to say?
Thank you. Thank you very much. It has been an ongoing pleasure to work with all of you involved with the society, and I hope to add more people to the group of society members so that you can join us and I can work with you as well. So thanks very much, Dennis, and thanks very much to the society.
Thank you, Susan. And I failed to put this up. Here's a picture of me awarding the plaque. This award has a plaque, which is handmade by Daniel Aguilera, one of our board members, and we appreciate him doing that. It's a beautiful handmade wooden plaque. So we did this about a week ago out on at Susan's place. And you know, another thing that Susan has done is DACHS has these vehicles that we own, a wagon, which you can see part of the wagon there, and also a buggy. And Susan has been gracious enough to store those vehicles on her property for the time being. So thank you for doing that as well. Okay, well, I believe that concludes our awards tonight. Is there anyone, either a board member or anyone else, who has something they would like to say?
Congratulations, everybody.
Yes.
Yes, congratulations.
Oh,
Really neat.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming. We know this is a very unusual way to do an awards presentation. We like to do this in person. We like to be able to sit down and talk with everyone and repass. And next year, hopefully we will be able to do that again. In the meantime, we got by this year doing it virtually. And again, congratulations to all the award winners. And we look forward to seeing everybody hopefully soon. We will keep you apprised. Our meetings will continue to be virtual meetings for the time being. Hopefully in the fall, we will be able to get back to doing in-person meetings.
Thank you, Dennis.
All right, you bet. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, everybody, and have a good evening. We hope to see you really soon.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Dennis.
Good night.
for letting us be a part of this.
You bet. Thank you to the Drexler family for showing up. We appreciate it.
Thank you too, Dennis. And on behalf of the Drexlers, thank you so much for that award, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Pete. Have a good night.
You bet.